Hi, I'm Pam, and I would like to welcome you to the Live Authentically show. On my show, I talk to people about how they live authentic lives and about how they help others connect to the essence of who they are. I would love to invite you to join my Facebook group, where we have a group of like-minded individuals committed to their spiritual growth and transformation. You can find us at liveauthentically.today/FB. I'm super excited to be launching my first book. It will be out in early 2020, and it's a spiritual journey through my personal growth and transformation and self-actualization, and contains all of the keys that you need to unlock the secrets of the universe so that you can create the reality that you desire. Would like to say a special thank you to our audience for tuning in, and also to our special guest who is here today. Today I have Dave Choi with us. Dave Choi is a plant-based chef, and he is going to be talking to us today about plant-based eating. So welcome to the show, Dave.
Well, thank you very much, Pam. I'm wishing you many future success and what you been accomplishing with your philosophy of sharing the knowledge and wisdom of healthy and beauty of all. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course, it's an honor to have you here, and it is just so energizing, and it's just so synergistic when like-minded people who are committed to growth and who are committed to overall health and wellness and nourishing our mind, body, and spirit come together. And I'm super excited to talk with you so we can spread the message about plant-based eating. So before we dive into that, the one question I like to start every show off with is, what does it mean to you to live authentically?
Well, there's no special, the issue of being different or being special. And my faith and my moment of authentic life is living each moment of now. Mm-hmm. Now means with gratitude and love that I can live as a form of life in no matter what circumstance where I'm at. And it becomes answer, and it becomes solution, and it becomes my path of life.
Mm-hmm. It's amazing. It's so incredibly powerful. And how long would you say have you been living with that, with those tenets and with that mindset? Is this something that you were brought up with? Is this part of your upbringing, or is this something that you've had to navigate your way through based on your life experiences?
Well, pretty much I was brought up from the Buddhist faith, Buddhist family. Mm-hmm. But as the time travel, I kind of believe there should be no more divide concept of dividing faith and religion by the name and denomination. Mm-hmm. So I kind of call myself a Just Be meditation founder. So Just Be means being in the moment. So I do teach a lot of Zen aspects of teaching, but I accept all the different wisdoms of many different faiths,
Mm-hmm. And how do you, I know that it's a lifelong practice, but how would you describe to people or coach people when they're just embracing the idea or starting to dabble with the idea of living in the moment? Because I know so many people, myself included, sometimes, struggle with, you think about things that happened in the past, or you're anxious about things that are going to happen, or you're worried about happening in the future. How do you coach people? If you could kind of summarize it, again, I realize it's a lifelong practice, but what are some words of wisdom around just being in the moment?
Well, number one, we're all, every creatures that being created and being birthed, including a human being, we are creation of love. And then we learn fear by living each moment, Mm-hmm. So I kind of ask simple questions of circle of life called moment, that's just pretty much one inhale and one exhale. So if you inhale and if you don't exhale, you're dead. You exhale, and if you don't inhale that next breath, you're also dead.
Right. Right.
So it's the matter of how you recognize that breath. If you take it in with gratitude, only ways to be exit out of your body will be love. And the same way, if you inhale the one breath of air with love, only ways to get out is the gratitude. Mm-hmm. So I always teach people, circle of movement is only relies on each breath, whether you are healthy as horse or 100-year-old person or battling the journey of all kinds of different disease and illness. As long as our body function, it only counts as a breath of inhale and breath of exhale. And then plus on top of that, I kind of play the number. I always say, where are you now if I see 100 years divided into 36,500 days? Then people become very amused because 100 years seems very long time. But if you look at it at 36,500 days, it's very limited. It's less than money that you earn each year, or any cars, any house. So it's really pity of not even making the century mark. Some people die early, some people get into accident, all that. So it's really, being very meaningful to see where you're at right now. Then if a person realizes this is where I'm at, they start opening their, window of wisdom to try to live whatever that they given is more meaningfully,
Absolutely. And I love that because that is so symbolic of the shift from living unconsciously to living consciously, right? I mean, unconsciously is we just get up and go through the motions and work and take care of our houses and take care of our responsibilities. But living consciously is making more mindful decisions, right? It's about getting up every day and saying, what do I want to do to change the world? What do I want to do to first change my life? And how do I want to incorporate deeper life or deeper meaning and purpose in my life, right? It gives a lot more, it's a lot richer, richer existence to exist, to live at those depths. So I think that that's amazing. It's such a mindset shift. And I think that's the trend. That's definitely what we're seeing. We're seeing broad shifts in collective consciousness across the spectrum, from the way people are just living their lives, the way they're taking charge or owning their lives more than they used to years ago, into relationships, to right down to the food that they eat every single day. And this is a perfect segue, I think, to get into who you are and what you do. I mean, you are just, you're the guru of plant-based eating. It's such an honor to know you. I know I started to dabble in plant-based eating for the first time about 6 years ago. And I know we've come together. We met through a common friend, D'Anthony Evans, who hopefully we'll be having him on a future show. But back in 2012, just for our listeners, he was given 6 months to live. He has a rare form of cancer. And he, through a plant-based diet and other natural modalities, has beaten cancer. And now he is literally traveling the world as a cancer thriver. And he is spreading the powers of plant-based eating. He is spreading the message of plant-based eating. So it's such an honor to know him and to know you. And I'm super excited to have you here so you can disseminate your vast knowledge and wisdom on plant-based eating. So before we dive in, I have a number of questions for you regarding plant-based eating. But where I would like to start is kind of very high level. When I started to dabble in it, I wasn't quite sure what plant-based eating was. And just for our listeners who may not be familiar with it, can you please describe plant-based eating? What does that mean to you?
Well, there's many different species of creatures living and living a natural, life as what they are described and born with it. If lions, they ran out of food, if there's no more animals to hunt, they're not gonna, go eat corn or lettuce or broccoli. They'll just die. They'll just disappear. And then same goes to, elephant or rabbit. They're not gonna, run out and hunt another rabbit when they run out of, plant-based, food chain. They disappear. Mm-hmm. That's the, pretty much law of the universe, planet Earth. But in between these two, omnivore or carnivore or grazing animal, and there's one types of special group called survivor. Okay. Okay. Survivor is the adaptation specialist that's been continues to follow their living path for hundreds of thousands of years. One of the biggest survivors is cockroach. Roaches is very, they go on anything, they do anything to survive, mm-hmm. for them to have next offspring. So, for example, when you give rat poison to a roach, first 3 generations will die, but from 4th generation, it becomes their best food, even rat poison. Mm-hmm. And then there's rodents, and there's all kinds of parasites that need to sustain form of life by adapting. Okay. And then we are human beings right inside that borderline. We have adapted it through our intelligence and through our judgment, through our experience. We tend to figure out what is the next step mm-hmm. to survive. So if you describe planet Earth is a green planet, a blue planet from the space, in there's so much going on right now. Right. And we are the only species of all the creatures in this planet Earth ruining and destroying and damaging, and eventually, like Dr. Einstein a long time ago mentioned, in the end of it, humans going to be throw stone and twigs at each other because there's nothing left to live with, Mm-hmm. So we are really in very important, crucial point of frame to do something about, this planet Earth and environment and global warming, everything else. We are the main reason, painting and destroying this wonderful, gifted life source called planet Earth,
Right. Right.
So.
Oh, go ahead.
So plant-based pretty much, sustain and achieving form of life by having something and eat something and digest something that is from grounded matter, which mm-hmm. means, any ungrounded like the edible things that all have form of life movement. So anything that ungrounded element has its own law of the nature, like lion, elephant, and dinosaur, anything, insect, fish. But any plant that's been grounded from the earth, they don't have any choice to move around whether they like it or not. They'll mm-hmm. just be there mm-hmm. to sustain form of life and provide form of life with oxygen, with abundance of nutrients from the food they possess. Mm-hmm. And rest of ungrounded animals and insect and animal would freely search and find and its own nourishment,
Right. So what would you say are the, I know you've already talked about just the environmental, just what the, the condition of our planet, the thing what's happening globally, but what would you, can you talk a little bit about all of the benefits of plant-based eating? Because I know when I embarked on this journey, I wasn't aware. I was just, I just ate the standard American diet. I was eating meats. I was eating cheeses. I was eating, breads, pastas, etc. I wasn't aware of the powerful role that food plays in our health, in the way that we feel every day. And I know for me, it's been a huge part of my spiritual growth and transformation. I have completely overhauled the way that I ate, went from the standard American diet to eating plant-based. So fruits, veggies, nuts, seeds, beans, things like that. I know that I feel differently, and I have a lot more energy. I sleep better. I did read some books, watch some documentaries, but it was eye-opening for me to see, to learn about all of the health benefits for me. And from there, it was kind of a process of self-discovery. So for me, it wasn't linear. I didn't go from standard American diet to being very close to vegan overnight. It was a process of self-discovery, and I did a lot of research in there. And I was really shocked at the number of benefits, or the areas that the benefits covered in terms of health benefits for us, the planet, obviously the animals. So can you talk a little bit about all of the different areas in which plant-based eating benefits us?
Well, number one, the biggest things that I want to share this with plant-based is that, for example, if you go to like monastery, like Buddhist temple in Korea, remote area, or Japan, or the anywhere that Buddhist religion is very thriving. Mm-hmm. There's a two outhouse. One is for the Buddhist monk, and the other one is guest.
Okay.
Outhouse, in that region, it's so remote. They don't have like regular plumbing. They just have a outhouse, all outhouse. Mm-hmm. So all the guests outhouse front of the door, they have a big skull sign and that big warning sign: do not smoke or do not light match, because it can be blown out. And then if you go to the Buddhist monk side, there's nothing like that written down, Mm-hmm. So what I'm trying to explain to you is that average standard American diet, or anybody eating meats and dairy or any kind of animal protein, would have different fecal matter that discharging. Mm-hmm. As it discharges, it created special acidic gas called methane. Mm-hmm. And then if you go to any farm like horse barn or cow barn, you go in there, you just smell grass or something plant-based thing. It's like fermenting. Mm-hmm. You don't smell that toxic odor from rotting of animal fecal matter. Mm-hmm. So during the World War II in China, when they battled against Japanese aggression, and a lot of those the patriotic people in China, they use a rotten egg bomb to combat Japanese loyal army.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
It's simply they're using rotten egg that has very highly toxic with the methane gas, and they just put the bunch of a metal nail into the grass jar, and they light it up and they throw it at the Japanese army, mm-hmm. and it explodes. Okay. So what I'm saying is that that's the number one difference between eating plant and eating animal. It creates as both of them being spoiled. One plant-based food always ferment, like it's almost like a smell like vinegar, like how they discover wine mm-hmm. in old day. They learn how to domesticate animal and learn how to farm, and they learn how to store many of those grain, and then they didn't have knowledge of how to properly store, and they discover rotten, spoiling grain. that becomes rice wine. That becomes, when grape becomes, bursting with the fermenting state, that becomes wine,
Mm-hmm.
But if animal go that bad, it's a very dangerous thing to expose.
Okay.
And just imagine that's happening in our digestive system every day.
Mm-hmm.
So fermenting and ripening is different issue.
Okay.
And 100% of all illness in human body or anybody saying is coming from the inflammation.
Okay. And inflammation.
And so
from
animal
animal products such as dairy.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So right now, as you see, they are saying the number one, prescribed or non-prescribed medication over the counter throughout this country is anti-acidic matter.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Lolay, Zental, you name it, it's all related to a digestive disorder,
Okay.
And then what is the most common element of those medicine is neutralized acid reflux,
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So plant-based, if you change your life to plant-based, you don't really need to understand, figure out how my pH level, how my acidic element can, destroy my disorder.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very, ensuring element, just taking yourself a plant-based experience for 3 days, that means like a no toxic food for 3 days. I always tell people, it's not forever. It's just a 3-day challenge. See how your body responds.
Okay.
And you feel it. And I'm not going to ask you, to determine your condition. You're the person that living in that body of yours. Right. And if your body's saying something to you in good way, do another 3 days, and 3 days becomes 3 months, 3 years, and then it becomes a lifestyle,
Right. Can we talk a little bit about, I'd like to educate our listeners a little bit about some of the potential health benefits for the individual. Let's say someone comes to you and says, what's in this for me? If I make the shift to plant-based eating, you've talked about the environment, but what are some of the health benefits that I could expect to experience from plant-based eating? What would you tell them?
Okay, I would definitely tell them, can you, score major, like your digestive tract throughout your body, and it's just about 42 feet, from the vocal cord all the way down to your colon. It's about 42 feet, mm-hmm. And it is a revolution, bringing in those 42 feet in freedom of acidic environment, freedom of oily congestion.
Mm-hmm.
So pretty much, I would definitely say if you go plant-based, there's no reason for any cancer cells to congregate in your body. So you never have to worry about, when I'm going to be diagnosed with disease called cancer.
Mm-hmm.
That's the number one issue, because our body's illness comes from inflammation, pH imbalance, and our individual cancer cell love to feed on those acidic environments,
Okay. And an acidic environment is created through consumption of animal products. Is that true?
Yes, combining with the animals, mm-hmm. Dairy, sugar, and any other thing that relate to that matter,
Okay. So let's say someone came to you and said, where do I get started? This whole completely overhauling the way that I eat sounds really overwhelming and daunting, and I'm super busy and I'm running around and I barely have enough time to take care of everything. How do I shift from the way I currently eat, which may be just grabbing food on the run, to really taking a conscious, mindful, intentional approach to food prep, eating. I mean, what kind of advice would you give someone looking to make the shift to plant-based eating?
Well, number one, I would always tell them, just like you work from Monday to Friday and you have like TGIF and Saturday, Sunday off.
Mm-hmm.
So try not to make any excuse not to. So I always tell people when the first first TGIF that you could make this decision out of your weekend for your physical and mental and spiritual time out.
Mm-hmm.
So I always tell them, go somewhere, as you get up on Friday from work, or if you can get 1 week, time off from the company you work or vacation, go somewhere that you cannot talk to anybody. You just be yourself, and then scout yourself to take that time out, not just for food, but if you go somewhere that your body and your mindset never experienced any kind of pattern, it's much easier for you to follow up your commitment.
Mm-hmm.
So like I would say I send a lot of people to Dole County and Rhinelander area because there's like very much nothing over there,
Yeah.
And then some people are saying, those areas they don't have any, plant-based food. But I always tell them, go to any steakhouse, any Denny's restaurant, just tell the server that you are on special doctor's in order not to have this and that and that. I'm very sincere. If chef can provide me this kind of a gift, guess what? They'll provide you best plant-based food out of Gibson steak, you name it. And I did challenges with many ex-Chicago Bears and ex-Chicago Bulls players to the Gibson and
Mm-hmm.
Burkoff restaurant and just order those plant-based food. Guess what? They come out better than you go to some of those mediocre vegetarian restaurant.
Right. I know, I wholeheartedly agree, and I've had that experience. And it is really exciting to see restaurants becoming more accommodating. We even see fast food chains starting to offer plant-based alternatives to traditional meat, traditional meat dishes, and that's really exciting to see. So, and it is eye-opening, right? It all goes back to plants, how amazingly delicious plant-based dishes can be. Because I know one of my concerns early on is, well, I like the way that meat tastes. It tastes good, but when you really when you look at it closely, meat, we don't eat meat without any seasoning, right? Meat is seasoned with plants. It all stems back to plants. And I know that through my journey to plant-based eating, there were a few hurdles that I had to overcome just in terms of mindset and in terms of the way I thought about things. I got certain reactions from people, such as, and this is probably the biggest question that I get from people, is when they hear that I'm plant-based, very close to vegan, the number one question I get is, where do you get your protein? And so I'm going to ask if you can respond to that question for our listeners. I know that's the number one concern is, where do you get your protein? So if you can speak to that a little bit, because I know we're so conditioned to think of animal sources when we think protein, right? We think, it needs to come from a piece of steak or the big ticket piece of king salmon kind of thing. So can you talk a little bit about protein sources in plant-based foods?
Okay, so here's a very simple aspect. Before I go on that, I'll give you one little tip about using the public access eatery, whether it's traditional or vegan or vegetarian. Many chefs, they make the food with dignity, Mm-hmm. Whatever they do. So if you become very sincere of your situation, whether it's steakhouse, wherever you are, if you're very, sincere of your heart, you get the best food that you ever, ask. And then if you, act like, like some kind of, commander-in-chief, you're going to, get one of the worst food that you ever taste in your life. you know. So protein, protein, many people talked about protein, especially those people that building the muscle like their Christmas ornament. You go to health club, there's two types of people working out. One types of people, they working out to endurance, flexibility, and the strength. And there's other types of people that just trying to build muscle on top of the muscle. And I call that as decorative muscle that cannot be used.
Okay.
Yeah. And it's very dangerous practice of living, because if you build that mass, and one day, that mass is demanding with so much of response from the organ, and when organ cannot sustain those kinds of circulatory muscle growth, and it becomes strokes and heart attack.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of times people are saying, even D. Anthony, when I met him, he didn't have much hope, and he was worrying about his size and his strength, and he was eating, a lot of chicken breast and whey protein,
Right.
But I let him experience, that blind faith of following my guidance, and now he becomes, Superman of plant-based advocate.
Right.
And if somebody had come ask me about, where is the protein coming if you only eat plant, and I would answer, there are two types of a protein that coming available. There's like a 99% of all the protein is already on the ground in planet Earth. That's like every little plant, every little leaf, every little vegetable, every little root has a form of protein.
Right. Right.
And then when elephant and dinosaur, all the biggest gorilla, strongest animal, they're all the grazer, not hunters of animal. And then I go with, if a person eating plant-based protein from kale and broccoli or asparagus, either your body will burn and absorb 100%, because it's plant. But if anybody eats eggs, dairy, and wheat, meat, and fish, it'll only go out like 98.9999999, and then somehow that fine point of two something stays and remain in our body, and where that most located is right near the organ,
Okay.
So it becomes organ fat.
Okay.
And that organ fat is most dangerous fat, and it's very acidic, and it contributes all the different illness from cardio, respiratory, neurological disorder, and especially really cynical thing to people battling cancer.
So what are if someone said, I want to make the shift to a plant-based diet. Again, it can be kind of overwhelming going from the way they currently eat to plant-based. What are do you have some go-to kind of in the way of talking about protein, do you have some basic protein rich items that you commonly keep stocked in your house? I mean, do you rely on beans or, seeds, nuts? Like, where do you, what are some of the staples that you keep in your kitchen?
Well, number one, our taste bud is very dull. Our taste bud is exhumed with so much flavor in anything, seasoning and chemical. Our tongue is really numb, these days.
Okay.
So I always tell people, go to any reputable grocery store, get all the different vegetables of different colors.
Okay.
Like eat the rainbow.
Mm-hmm.
Half of the things that you buy, you steam in a steamer without any seasoning, okay? And then the other the, the other half the other half uh, uh, you put it in the oven and bake it, the other one half,
Mm-hmm.
and then left. And if you have anything left over, just chop it up and eat that as a freshness as a salad.
Okay.
So I ask them to eat without any seasoning or salt and pepper, to finish that whole, the batch of grocery. By the time they finish steamed vegetable and baked vegetable and vegetable from freshness,
Mm-hmm.
they'll find out unique flavor and taste from that form, untouched form of vegetable.
Okay. Yeah.
And it'll retrain the true nature of a taste bud in our tongue to be very, 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 delicate and sensitive once again when we are, little baby and children,
Mm-hmm.
child. And then when they, achieve what vegetable has each different flavor and taste, and they know how to accumulate, like a playing with a little, mud pie. You add a little bit of a trickle of salt and pepper or garlic, or any the seasoning like cumin and turmeric, any of those kind of spices, and it becomes a huge different game changer for their digestive system.
Okay. So kind of like a hard reset, right, for the taste buds and for their system. How long would you
Right.
recommend? How long would you recommend that someone do that for?
Well, it's like I said, it's like a sad, like sorry about this buzzing. I'm very not knowledgeable about operating any device right now. I just said right now, it may be ringing. Hold on.
So I'm sorry, I missed that part. Did you say about how long should someone eat just the plain vegetables before they kind of layer on more flavors and spices?
First of all, like do this for like 3 days.
Okay. Okay.
Especially when a person have a little bit of time off from the mainstream of living, because we are living with bombardment of information and devices from so many people, and we have all these different reason not to do because of social active reason. I got to go this way, that party, that wedding.
Right.
Just like we try to be everywhere, but when it comes to very delicate thing that we cannot share anything with anybody else, that's your own illness and your prescription drug.
Mm-hmm.
That's why our mindset is so complicated with doing everything and be very egotistic about not helping ourselves.
Right.
First. So I always say self-love. If you love yourself first, if you witness that I could say I love me, then put everything, every best thing to let this body to survive and enjoy.
Right. Right.
So you could do this like 3 day time out, get away from all the hustling and bustling, and just enjoy your farmer's market and wherever you are. You put you in that kind of like a sanctuary situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I guarantee you, after 3 days, you come home much different person.
Transformed, right? Transformed, more energy,
Mm-hmm.
mental clarity, better sleep. I mean, I know that I experienced firsthand many of the benefits, and the longer I experimented with plant-based eating, the more I understood that I wanted this to be a permanent lifestyle. I feel better now at 45 than I did when I was 25. And it's just,
Mm-hmm.
it's undoubtedly the power of the food that I'm eating. I never used to view food as nourishment. And now, after learning so many of the benefits, one of the benefits is obviously, longevity. By creating an ecosystem within our body that fights disease rather than fuels it, that has favorable ramifications on longevity. So it does have far-reaching. It goes beyond just how I feel today, but it goes, it helps to extend our life, helps us to give us more vitality, and again, there is this whole towards self-love that we're going to about. I've for my journey that we have to keep our pitcher full before we can fill up other people's cups, and by eating properly and fueling our bodies appropriately, that's one of the modalities that we can employ to take care of ourselves. So I just so admire your mindset, your work. This is just such an incredible if we can shift to what you're doing kind of professionally, what you're doing on a broader scale to spread the plant-based message. I know you do a number of speaking engagements, you work with people directly, you're a chef. So can you just tell me kind of high level and tell our audience what you do?
Well, right now, I was in the restaurant business for many years, and I retired about 10 years ago. And then, during that time, I helped a lot of, cancer patients, try to overcome the difficult issue of, dying, and I do a lot of, public demonstration, working with a lot of children. It's kind of amazing, because the children has a very, very basic essence of ego, because they don't eat if the taste is not there for them, and then they need to see a little visualization of where the food comes from, Nowadays, so much of it, milk is coming from strawberry comic milk, cheese is coming some beautiful, comic look like cow, they don't know how this is being happening. So I do a lot of demonstration of, like visual demonstration. I always go place to say, one blender is a angel blender from with plant. The other one is like an evil blender from the animal, So I simply curate their favorite food and my favorite food and curate it and put it in the, like a latex glove and tied it up and throw that on front of the table and watch them witnessing happening of saturation, Any animal or dairy or sugar coated, pureed form of food would blow up like 5-6 times of its own size of, latex glove in matter of, 30 minutes.
Oh, really?
Because when animal protein and dairy and sugar wanting to fight for their own ground, it expands and it forms a gas, And then plant-based food stays exactly same, for many, many, many hours. And then only ways that plant-based food go bad would be, it smell like vinegar,
Okay.
And the other one, if you touch it, it feels very greasy and it looks awful, And I used to do a demonstration at the American Heart Association, and I used to do a few of them at the Kendall College up in the, north side when they had a school up there, Northwestern. All the chefs want to be people that they were saying, they follow the tradition and recipe, but no more of those, tradition and recipes valid. Just like, we should have no reason to carry a gun in these days of 21st century,
Right.
So a lot of those, New England clam chowder that's been passing down for a couple hundred years, that's pretty much, dialogue of all this different poison, nowadays. But some of those chefs still honor those, recipe, because it's what they inherit,
Okay. Yeah.
So I try to educate many people that living in this time, fast moving time, is very much harder than the time we used to live 50, 60 years ago, you know?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Many years back, even meat or fish or all those, the poison was so expensive. So if you're not rich enough, you cannot afford it, you know?
Right.
But now it's all coming back to us as, fast food and processed food. So anybody can afford, you know?
Right.
That's
Right.
what killing the public right now. They're saying, this is coming from the, FDA. They're evaluating by 2025, almost 75% of all American people will have one type of cancer in their life.
Oh my God.
Can you believe that?
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Even now, I always ask people, go to your mindset, see who's battling life of cancer through your family and your relative, your friend. Every one of them coming out with at least 5, 6 people in their circle.
Mm-hmm.
My
Right.
aunt, my friends. That means there's lots of acidic inflammation going on,
Right. Right.
So
That's a staggering
so
stat.
so I ask people, cancer is not your enemy. They're just like an individual cell just got lost and hiding from your T cell. Otherwise, your T cell will wipe them away. So only way is to congregate to survive in the body. That resourcing of that congregation is the acidic food.
Mm-hmm.
That's all the acidic food that we intake stores in our organ and organ fat,
And acidic foods, again, being meats, it includes fish, right? Dairy,
Yep.
sugar.
Sugar. Mm-hmm.
And you said wheat. Did you say wheat before? Is that
No, yeast.
yeast? Got it. Yeast. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeast kind of like a contributing element to slow down the circulation of the food deliverance, because yeast is kind of a element of something to promote the process.
mm-hmm. I see.
So I get like almost like 200 to 300 emails from all over the world right now, because of my friend D. Anthony Evans. He's going around globally
Right.
and talking about plant-based thing, and I get a lot of the doctors and healthcare professional trying to challenge me with all their faith and belief and their experience. In the end of it, they all come back and say, my nephew, my niece, my uncle, can you help me? And I kind of give them basic element of what to avoid, what to have, and they all come back and said, their condition is drastically improving.
Wow. That's so amazing. I mean, one of the things I love about this, though, is plant-based eating really takes a proactive, preventative approach. I think this, with all due respect to medical professionals and everyone in health and wellness and pharmaceutical industry, et cetera, I think that the system is that we have with regard to eating meat, dairy, et cetera, somewhat, it's all interrelated and it's all somewhat reactive. We treat illnesses, we follow a certain lifestyle and then get sick and try to treat it with medicine. And it's just amazing to see the power of plant-based eating, because the whole idea is to get out in front of it, right? To take a preventative, proactive approach to your health and maintain that ecosystem within your body that disallows disease to flourish, right? I mean, you're creating an atmosphere that says, this disease, these cancer cells, a number of different diseases aren't welcome here. It's like trying to build a snowman in a desert, right? It's not going to happen. It's just, you don't have the building blocks for disease to flourish. So that's the whole idea. And I think it's all about taking a more conscious, mindful approach and really owning. And that's why I'm so passionate about, plant-based eating and connecting with other like-minded individuals such as yourself and spreading this message, because it empowers us. It educates us and empowers us. And I simply didn't know until well into my 30s about the power of plant-based eating. And it's so exciting to see people globally now waking up. You know, Dee's traveling across the world. You're obviously a huge advocate for plant-based eating. And again, I think people at all levels are becoming more and more aware. We see that in restaurants. We see that even in fast food chains, that people are waking up and they're realizing. So many people have said to me, oh, I had no idea. It tasted just like a burger. It was black beans and, you know, brown rice and a bunch of other things. And it tasted just like meat. And I think it's interesting and refreshing for people to see that they can still, you know, they can still enjoy healthy food, or they can still enjoy delicious food and it can also be healthy. So just out of curiosity, I'd like to see what you think. I mean, obviously huge shifts happening right now in the plant-based arena. What do you think, where is this going? What is the landscape going to look like, let's say 30 years from now? Do you think that the world over time is going to continue to make the shift towards plant-based eating?
Well, it seems like, you know, the industrial revolution in England and this country, you know, when they discovered synthetic material called plastic and nylon, you know, they destroy all the wonderful, you know, homeopathic ways to live our life, and they chase everybody out of the country where the 100 years of big pharma restructuring. So, you know, right now there's so much of people of industry that jumping in the bandwagon. It's almost like, you know, in cancer industry, there's a chemotherapy and alternative therapy. You know, that's like a you know, like homeopathic, all this stuff, other alternative way. But the right now issue with this thing is happening is a lot of those big fast food industry trying to, you know, grab the piece of something, you know, in wrong way, you know. They don't say this is healthy, whatever. They just say this is like a, you know, replacing whatever that they are tasty buds, you know. So a lot of those are people that they specialize in, you know, like a old way of plant-based people that believe in true plant-based. They did a lot of those, you know, fast food items to compare, you know, and only difference is because one is from animals, the other one is from the, you know, creation of chemistry, you know.
Right.
So my belief is, you know, if you could imagine, you know, eating, you know, 6-legged turkey or 9-legged chicken, you know, go over there and eat real one, you know. Because when you try to create the flavor and image of something that tries to duplicate much of it, in the end of it, you know, we're going to be suffering even more greater way, because any of those things that make to create that resemblance of something that we are desiring right now, it can be very harmful in 20 years, 30 years down, you know?
Right.
So I always educate people, eat the real thing from real planet, not somebody's, you know, deception of making something to look like something, you know?
Right.
Because once we adopt that kind of a, you know, lifestyle, you know, you're not, you know, living a true life of somebody. You are, you know, faking your life to sustain whatever you are, you know?
Right, exactly.
So,
and it is.
So,
oh no, go ahead.
So it's a big market, you know. It's like a pretty much virgin a landscape on that way. And like I said to my, you know, dear friend Dr. Campbell, who wrote the China study.
Yep.
Dr. T. Colin Campbell. He wrote a book called China Study, you know, many years ago.
Yeah, I read it. Yep.
So back then, everybody, you know, criminalized him as a cuckoo PhD, and you know, they're saying, you know, you're not even a medical doctor, talking about what? But you know, right now he's got a, you know, medical school speaking engagement lecture signed up all the way up to his until he's like 99 years old, you know.
Wow.
So you know, the most saddest thing about, you know, how medical doctors not knowing nutrition to tell their patients that, eat everything in moderation, So, to become a medical doctor, even now, you only have to take one class of nutrition, one class, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
That's why there's so much of boggling of somebody's advice,
Right. Yeah.
So it's like one cancer survivor, have catch basin of coming back, or 2 or 3 different types of cancer, is because they're all going back to their old lifestyle,
Mm-hmm. Right.
When you go back, it's going back to the same place, that you suffered,
Right, exactly. And I think a lot of it too is awareness. When I just happened to learn about plant-based eating through common friends that we had and was introduced to you, but I just kind of happened to stumble in it. And I thought, I just feel like our country as a whole can do so much more. There's so much room for expanding awareness in terms of the power that food plays and nutrition, et cetera. I think that food isn't scrutinized enough when we're exploring health issues. It really does go back to the food that we put in our body. That's the building block for ourselves. I mean, for our body,
Mm-hmm.
our cells, as you know, they reproduce, every day, all throughout the day, and we literally are what we eat. So if we're fueling our body with acidic foods, with junk foods, that's what the body is. That's the only thing it has available to build new cells. So it's just an awareness thing. I think we do have a ways to go in terms of educating people. And the more I learned, the more firmly affixed and firmly grounded I became in plant-based eating. And like I said, it has been a process of self-discovery. I think that everyone needs to, no one, like you said before, you're the only one living in your body, right? I'm the only one living in my body. So I need to listen to my body and pay attention to how it's feeling when I fuel it with certain things. But it really is eye-opening when we really start to take a close look at what we're fueling our bodies with and start to tune in and become acutely aware of how we're feeling. We really do start to see and experience and feel and see the link between the fuel and the way that we feel. And I am just super excited to have this platform to spread the message, and super excited to connect with other, like-minded individuals like you who are believers in this lifestyle. Like you said, it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle, it's a lifelong practice. And it's my wish for everyone, because it's that they feel amazing. I mean, a plant-based diet really can totally transform someone's life. So I admire you and what you do. I think that you are just an amazing person, and you're just sharing your gifts with this world in a really incredible way. So if people would like to get in touch with you, Dave, what is the best way for them to reach out in terms of speaking engagements or anything else? What's the best way for them?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook. I go by Dave Choi, CHOI. They could ask a friend, or they could send me a email, chef Dave Choi @gmail.com.
Okay.
Just like the women's movement, or all these equal rights movement, civil rights movement. It all started from the small crack of somebody's idea and movements.
Right.
So we need more people like you to open up in media, to be able to display and sharing this multi sophisticated media, internet, and there's a lot more power where the D. Anthony, I kind of see he's my now spiritual son.
Okay.
Yeah, so we become that close relationship. So he become a big messenger of his being. He's not trying to pretend. He's just living his life as a person called D. Anthony Evans, from death to living.
Right.
And he mentored so many cancer patients that had similar types of his issue, and he did it without a single drop of my food.
Mm-hmm.
He did it exactly how to with prescribing lifestyle change approach. And there's many patients all over globe saying, "Dear Anthony Evans, you're the life, and you're the light of our new journey, called life."
Right. Yeah. And it is such an amazing story. Like I said, from being given a grim prognosis of 6 months to live to traveling the world, spreading the plant-based message. I mean, we haven't even talked, and our focus was obviously plant-based eating and nutrition today, but we haven't even talked about the exercise component of it. I mean, he's, like you said, Superman, just absolutely incredible. And his story is amazing. And I'm looking forward to sharing his story to give so many other people inspiration and hope, and how through a commitment to investing in plant-based eating and your own health and wellness, and really taking charge and listening to your body and just pushing through. I mean, the mindset is incredible, his mindset, and I'm looking forward to helping him share his message as well. So I think that wraps up our discussion for today. Once again, Dave, I would like to thank you for giving us your time and sharing your infinite knowledge and wisdom with us. I would like to thank all of our viewers and listeners. I so appreciate you tuning in and being open-minded enough to hear what we have to say about plant-based eating. Also, remember to visit liveauthentically.today/FB to join our community of like-minded people committed to spiritual transformation and growth. And also stay tuned for more information on the book launch. I touch on a number of different things in terms of spiritual transformation and self-actualization. I also do discuss plant-based eating in my book. So I'm super excited to be able to spread this message via yet another platform. So once again, thank you and have a great day.